absolutely sublime. That was the first 5 measures of Gabriel Fauré's Nocturne number 12 in E minor, opus 107. This is a work that profoundly influenced me when I was 21. I fell in love with it then, and I've loved it all of these years since, and I am deeply honored to share it with you today. This piece is really very little known or understood and rarely performed. It's one of 13 nocturnes, and to me this is of an inquiry of an emotional struggle between one's mental survival or not. Really, he was on the line with this piece. He was going deaf. And the struggle of having the joy in his life and the despair were just a hair's breadth apart from each other. And that's reflected at the opening with E major. And immediately measure 2, sinking down into the parallel E minor. And that major minor, E major, E minor, E major, E minor, goes through the entire piece. It is a mantra of struggle and inquiry, is how I hear it. So let's look at the very beginning of this. It's in 12/8 time. If I count out loud and play, this is what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. Going into that next measure is a tie. What you think is one voice is really 2. This is really a duet between soprano and alto. The bass now has a very important role. Coming in on the 10th beat, it's punctuating every 3 beats. So you're going to hear 4 octaves per measure. Starting on the tonic E, down a 4th, up a step, down a 4th, up a step, down a 4th. Now hear this wonderful diminished 5th, and then chromatic. Very, very unusual line. Then it repeats, line 2, G major. Takes us to the top of page 2. What I finished was all the opening A material built on the motive of the thirds, falling and major to minor. Beginning the second section of the piece, the B section, we have all of these 16th notes and intervals of clashing seconds. Listen to these harmonies. I'm just going to play a little bit of this first so you get the feel of the contrast of the B section. Starting with page 1 is a new engraving. Has never been done this way before. It's a new layout which I invented using the 11 by 17 horizontal page layout. And this is really extraordinary because this is digital. I was able to re-engrave the music in the exact notes as in any other music you would find, but in a completely different look. And therefore I can get long, long stretches of material, which is how he wrote this piece. Enormous long phrases. System 2, System 3, System 4. And these ending measures here. Let's just digress back to that for 1 second. Those single measures that I discussed. Measure 5 on page 1. Listen to this. Out of context, this is going to sound quite strange. The first one. The second one. The third. Which brings you to the C major that comes tumbling down into our B section. So that's extraordinary to see all of the A section opening theme 1 on one page here with these beautiful ascending connecting measures that are actually in quadruples, changing the meter there. Going on to our B section then, this is what this looks like. Long, long phrases. And one more long phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4 long measures. And look, an uninterrupted phrase mark. Because that's what's in the piece. He's written this in enormous horizontal phrases. The sweep of this piece is gigantic. And then we have these connecting measures called episodes. These are the chords that mirror the major minor. And this chord, resolve. This chord. Or how about this? Or this. Episodes which are connecting and separating the B section. So let me just play this for you. What I'm reading from are pages 2 and 3. I'm going to show you how starting right here and ending right here is a unit to be studied and learned as a group like this. Starting our B section for the first time in measure 21. And these seconds, both hands have seconds. The left, seconds. The right hand has locked seconds. And there's the third of the episode. Why is he doing this? That's the question. He's doing this because he was going deaf. And it was a horrible kind of hearing impairment. He called it a veritable cacophony. And he said that the high pitches sounded a third lower, and the low pitches sounded a third higher, and everything in the middle was as it normally is. Can you imagine what that would do to one's hearing? And it never left him. He was tormented with this inner cacophony going on all the time. So he could almost not but help to write something like this. Whether it be a counterbalance to it, or whether it became part of his inner fiber of his psyche, I don't know. But it's exquisite. It's unusual. There isn't anything like it with these kind of harmonies. So now, as written, just listen to these seconds, listen to the long, long line, and I will call that episode every time it happens. Page 3 here. These pages 1, 2, and 3 are the first third of the piece, and that's how I'm teaching the lesson in thirds. Pages 1, 2, 3, pages 4, 5, 6, and the close, pages 7 and 8. This return of your section A is the culmination of pages 1, 2, and 3. Listen to this line of the soprano. Extraordinary harmonies. Clashing, still has the clashing seconds. Now this is all augmented chords. And then tonality of major. You see, he was at the edge here. This is around 1909, 1910. Where the boundaries were being blurred and explored between traditional tonality of major and minor and into chromaticism with the whole tone scale. And he uses a lot of augmented chords which are built from the whole tone scale. Look at the bass here. These are absolutely stunning arpeggios coming up in measure 37. Measure, This is a sequence, doing the same thing down now. That's dissonant, and this is more of the major, still with this clashing second. Another dissonant. That's augmented. Augmented. Now how I practice these, this is difficult. Fauré had a fantastic left hand. Big hands, and the Episodic was ambidextrous, so what came naturally for him with the left hand, most pianists will have to work a little harder to be able to play it. But that's good, because you want to have equality of technique in both hands. But in his composing, he did a lot of dominant writing for the left hand, and this piece I find favoring a lot of left hand. This passage of 4 measures is equal between the two hands, equal distribution, equal difficulty, equal denseness in chords. Listen to these as blocked chords. This is a fantastic stretch of 4 measures. Like I said, it's the culmination of pages 1, 2, and 3. Block chords. It's a good way to practice. It's in a diminuendo here, and then leads to here. What a gorgeous thing. Who's going to think of that? The soprano and alto. Yeah. Listen to the constant shifting. Harmonies. It's like an improvisation. Together. Page 4. If you'll excuse me for 1 minute, I'm going to get something. I'll be right back. So what I brought to show you here is a large satellite view. I call it the galaxy view. This is not included as you see it here in your chart supplies, which, by the way, you can get all 8 pages of your working copy from my website, sallychristianmusic.com, as digital downloads. And I made this doing the same thing that you can do. I got a board from the craft store that's 20 inches tall and 30 inches wide. And all I did is print out on my home printer the 8 pages of the copy that you get in your chart on 8.5 by 11. And then I cut various strips to line it up like this and put colors on it for the lesson to show you what Fauré has actually done with the 3 different sections of this piece that I refer to. This left column is your entire pages 1, 2, and 3. This right here, where we have just arrived, is the recapitulation. This is pages 4, 5, and 6. And the remaining 2 pages are over here, 7 and 8. And I want to show you this because it's absolutely the mind at work with Fauré's conception of this piece. I put in the pink box here your opening subject, theme 1, with the rising and falling major third, minor third motive. And that's all page 1 of your working copy. This is all page 4. Now the good news is, page 4 is identical to page 1. So once you've learned page 1, you have learned page 4. Notice here in the green boxes that the cadence at the end of this first page was 2 measures long, and this is only a 1. But they both lead on your page 2 and your page 5 to the B section, which I put in blue. And I tried to line these up exactly. Then came what I was calling out those episodes in the orange. And then more blue of B section. And you could see that this is the mind of somebody, as I said earlier, improvisation. It's also unpredictable. This is, he is allowing himself to move with the currents of his changing emotional landscape, inner emotional landscape. The crying out of these chords of the episode are absolutely pivotal constructional elements in the piece. Now I put them in orange. You're going to get all the episodes on a separate addendum. I'll show you that in just a little bit. But I'm taking the time in the lesson now to show this so that if you want to make your own, it's very easy to do. You just copy what I've done here. And then you can see this beautiful balance between episode 1, section B, episode 2, 2 measures of B, episode 3, leading to the recapitulation material of that fabulous 4-measure descending cascade that I spent time with just now, and the 2-measure close. This is the beginning of where we are now in the lesson, and the material will basically repeat the idea. B section, this is your 4th episode. Little close material, B section, and your final 5th episode, which will lead you back for the first time to the conclusion of the piece. The most spectacular new material using parts of the old, which I call section C, and I put it in the yellow. This and finale right here is some of the most extraordinary writing. I cannot wait to get to this part with you. And then notice at the very end here with the coda, this is your last page, that he does a refrain of the pink opening material of pages 1 and 4, and then an answer with the B material. And this is actually very beautiful. This is the question answer, the yes, the no, the yin, the yang, the positive, the negative, the night, the day. All the duality in the human condition is right here at the end of the piece. And then our final close here with some of the most profound, desolate writing ever. So I will put this back and I will be right back. Now we're back, starting our page 4 with the pickup. Page 4. Into a little bit more detail now. As I said, the Fauré had a fabulous left hand. He was equally great as an organist and had an organ position at the Church of the Madeleine for years. And this experience with church music and his understanding of Gregorian chant and the use of modes with a lot of white keys, a lot of minor tonalities instead of forcing major keys, is apparent in his writing. And the pipe organ with the bass, with the feet pedal, which creates a third melodic line, is in this piece. Organ writing is always in the more advanced Fauré pieces. And I'd like to play this bass line and listen. We discussed the fourths in this, but just listen to this and imagine the sonorities of the pipe organ pedals. That a lot. Same with the next line, system 2. first the open fifth. This counting is tricky. And another open fifth. Now whole tone scale. Pipes. So study that as a separate part. Likewise, with the right hand, starting at the top of page 4, I'm now going to play, instead of as written, I'm going to take the alto by itself, because this is what's in here. This is really amazing. You don't realize it's in here until you take this apart separately. These are all broken sixths. That's so sad, isn't it? And then when you put the soprano, 1, 2. That sounds modal too, but the combination together is absolutely so beautiful. I'm going to redistribute and play this so I can bring out that alto more. World. He's locked in this world. He's isolated because of his deafness. Let's play now, hands together there. Resting on the single E, triad, E minor. And from there, would you do this? Would you think to do that? Modulate to G. As broken triads, this is the outline. pages 5 and 6. And before we do, I need to show you your supply here that you get also with your 8-page chart, the special addendum that I made for you that has all 5 episodes and their resolutions. As we saw on the big galaxy view satellite version that I showed you earlier in the lesson, I distilled from that and all of the orange marked rectangles these 5 episodes. Episode 1, 2, and 3 were all in the section 1, and episode 4 and 5 came in the section 2. But what I found extremely helpful is to learn by out of context and separately, be able to compare all 5 episodes. I've lined them up for you. Episode 1, so you can practice this way. Episode 2. And episode 3. These are the 3 that link together in that first part. And you can see how they climb up and up and up to build to the cascading descent at the end of the first section with those marvelous, so beautiful. So this is all the foundational connecting episodic material of pages 1, 2, and 3, and here for pages 4, 5, and 6. Episode 4. And this seats down in that sea, which started now in the piece. And here it is, episode 4. From here, that's the reference to major and minor, and then go on. Major, minor. This is all B section. You can see how important these are. So practice these as separate entities and what they introduce. They are all connecting a different key here. So it's either modulation or a different part of the structural material of the piece. Section A, section B, and in this case, that last episode is leading to section C, pages 7 and 8, and we are at the final 2 pages of the piece. These are the pages when I first heard the piece as a 21-year-old that sent me into a hypnotic state. I am not exaggerating. I walked around for about 3 months in a stupor with this piece enveloping every part of my thinking. I just entered the world and I couldn't leave. Almost the way it must have been for him when he wrote it. So coming into this final closing section, pages 7 and 8, let me just play a little bit of it for you as written. Take a breath. On page 7 were these 2 measures, and then we had a sequence of these 2, and then up a third here from A minor. We went up a third to C minor, and that modulated up even further to lead us right here to this expanded, it's actually A minor tonality. in here. Notice my colors here. Right here now, the colors that you see are not included in your supplies. Your music comes just black and white, but it's very easy to get your colored pencils. And I like to show for the 4 voices that he's using, I always choose pink for soprano, yellow for alto, tenor for turquoise is tenor, and the bass is green. And I'm going to take all 4 parts by themselves here to show you how absolutely stunning this composition is. Before I do that though, I don't want to bypass what we just played, because the tenor line here becomes as important as the alto line was in the opening that I played for you earlier. Listen, here is just the left hand at the top of page 7. Measures you've ever heard. 3 measures, and as redistribution, we have the tenor and the bass together. The bass is replicating, by the way, here the 4 dotted quarter notes that we had at the very beginning of the piece. And they sound like this. Play it just as written first, and then I will break those parts down as well. There are a lot of cross rhythms going on here. So the soprano is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, that's all syncopated. He did a lot of syncopation in his writing. The alto has every single beat, like this. Can you imagine putting all 4 parts together to make this? This is true organ playing at its finest. Oh, I'm going to block these chords. hang on now, this really is quite remarkable writing. Really written that sets that up. This is where he's going. This is the whole point of the piece, is that final recapitulation. This is the final conclusion of the piece, section A, section B. This is the coda. And look at the absolute beauty and balance of this page 8 that I re-engraved this way. You can see the climb, you can see the struggle, the denseness of this writing. This is about as dense and turgid as one could possibly have written. And he does, in these 4 measures, because of these octaves that are actually outlining. I played the chords, I didn't play the octaves. They're creating agogic accents which turn this into 6 beats in a measure, 6 separate pulses. And as written, and the repeat is doubled. Both hands are getting the octaves now. This is organ playing. How can you be an organist at the piano? This is how. Intervals here. Third, fourth, 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 fourth. They're all fourths. And as written, this is the climax right here. Back in again, fortissimo, one more time. Subito piano. Forte. E major. 12 beats, E minor, (107 measures of the Opus 107. So it's been quite an experience sharing this with you today. And just to know that this piece is out there, to know that there was a piece written like this, I think adds to the appreciation of the piano literature. Fauré's music has a big range. This is probably the most cutting-edge, austere range of things that he wrote, and as his final compositions reflect, they are they're quite profound and, well, devastating is really the word that I've been thinking, what are really the words to describe it. This is kind of in that quality of the ineffable, of things that cannot be described with words. The power and the depth and the spirituality of this music has no verbal description. It's all in the harmonies. It's all in these long, long phrases and the constant shifting moods between light and dark, major and minor. Quite a life journey. So if you do choose to learn the piece, I hope this will be helpful in your learning, your analyzing, and your memorization of it. I've very much enjoyed sharing this with you today, and I wish you well with your Fauré Nocturne number 12. Thank you.